Hello everyone, welcome back to the Designgold channel. Today we are going to talk about the Pave Gems function. Are you ready? Let's get started. Firstly, on the right, we have the model we created in ZBrush. How can we quickly fill it with stones? Just like the model on the left. Fill it with stones quickly. And underneath, there is a honeycomb base. Let's take a look. Like this. And quickly pave prongs. Now, let's start with a demonstration. Firstly, import this petal into Rhino. Select a petal. Then, use the ZBrush to Rhino function. Right-click to execute the function and set the parameters like this. Then, right-click to finish. This way, you can quickly import the model from ZBrush to Rhino. The same operation, we quickly import other objects into Rhino. This is a very convenient interaction. We can save a lot of time. Next, let's enlarge the Rhino window. Then, select this object. Then, use this curve symbol. We can draw lines on this object. Firstly, start at this position. Very simple operation. You can adjust the lines during the drawing process. Like this. Now, follow this edge to draw the lines. After drawing to this position, we can avoid this gem. Then, close the curve. This way, we can achieve the effect we want. If the number of points is not enough, we can increase them like this. Now, we can see the honeycomb structure is complete. Then, give it a layer. Next, select this curve. Use the Extrude Curve tool. Then, choose the option to target object. Select this mesh. In the options, click both sides equals yes. Extrude a surface, similar to the width of the video. Just like it is now. Next, select this mesh. Then, use this mesh split. Click on this surface, right-click to confirm. Now, the mesh is split. Hide this surface. Next, select the mesh. Then, use this offset mesh tool, for example, offset by 0.35. In the options, click solid equals yes. Then, offset inside. Click once with the left mouse button. Delete the base mesh. This is the mesh object just offset. Next, use Extract Mesh Part. Then, click on the surface of the mesh. Right-click to confirm. Then, delete the surface mesh. Like this. But for this part, we need to use Extract Mesh Part again. Click on this part of the mesh, right-click to confirm. After extracting, it looks like this. Next, we can start paving the stones. Select this mesh face. Click on this automatic stone setting tool. Now, the stones are sized between 1.3 and 1.5. I can see that the laid stones will display a size between 1.3 and 1.5. Count indicates the number of stones. For example, I can adjust the number of stones with the mouse wheel. Gap is the spacing between stones. The default is a 0.2 spacing. I can set a 0.15 spacing and press enter. Then it will calculate automatically. Now, you can see these stones are very orderly. Of course, if we want all the stones to be the same, set it to 1.5 here. Then press enter. Now, all the stones are 1.5 millimeters. Now, the stones here are not enough. Set it to around 100. Then press enter. Now, the quantity is just right. Next, check the positions without stones, adjust positions, and lock stones. Here, you can move these two stones, like this. For this position, you can click the plus sign to add some small stones. Now, you can press Q to shrink the stones. Shrink them to 1 millimeter. Click once, and the stone will be added. Continue checking the positions that need stones. Like this. Same operation for his position. I think for this stone, you can edit its size here. Shrink it a bit. Then, you will have a list of 1.3 here. Then, let's add a 1 millimeter stone. Okay, for example, we need to move it here. Press Ctrl to lock it. Now, for our stone, let's say, up to here. Now, if I want to lock it, basically, I can lock these stones like this, and when adjusting the size, actually, we can lock the stones. So, we just press Ctrl to lock. Similarly, we can grab this handle to perform a size scaling. Okay, you can scroll to enlarge a bit. After adjusting the stones, you can preview the stones. Here, you can display the distance of all stones. This is to display the size of the stones. This is to stop the stones from sticking and colliding. It's best to click OK. Next, select these stones. Then click on the Pave Pongs tool. In the options, turn off Auto Height equals off. Right-click to confirm. For problematic prongs like these, you can use the Orient Prong tool. Then, click once on the mesh surface. Press shortcut Q or E to adjust the size of prongs. Just like this, very convenient. Press Q to shrink. If you need to delete a stone, hold down the Shift key and click on the prongs to delete. Just like this. Finally, let's check the prongs at each position. Once adjusted, we can start creating the nest base. First, select this mesh surface. Then, assign a layer to it, for example, a color like this. For example, a color like this. Click on the red layer. Switch the current layer to red. Then, select this object. Now click on the Curve Simple tool. Outline the range of the nest base. Switch to wireframe mode or translucent mode. Outline following the range of the stones. Like this. Now, close the curve at this position. Switch back to solid mode. Adjust the curve, and that's it. Now that we have finished outlining, right-click to confirm. Select this curve. Then, use the Extrude tool. Click on Fit to Object in the options, like this. Now the surface is generated. Next, select this grid object. Use the Mesh Split tool. Then click on this extruded object, right-click to confirm. Now it's split. Delete the extruded object. Next, select all the stones. Then click on the Nest Base tool. Click on the Base Mesh again. Now the nest base is created. Next, move away the extraneous points. Like these. Hold the left mouse button and right-click to delete extra points. Points like these are not acceptable, so we need to move them away. This point needs to be moved. Check again if there are any issues. After adjustments, click on Preview equals on. Now azure cutters are displayed. The red handle adjusts the gap. The yellow handle adjusts the thickness of the protrusion. Adjust the size of the pillars at this position. Once set, right-click to confirm. If you find it unsatisfactory, you can go back for editing. Select the Azure Cutters object, then click on the Azure Cutters tool again. This way, you can make adjustments again. It's that simple. After finishing this, I can send it to ZBrush for Boolean operations. Firstly, combine these split mesh objects. Like this. After combining, it will become a single mesh object again. Let's display both software applications. Hold the Alt key and click on the pedal. Go back to Rhino, select this pedal. Click on the Rhino to ZBrush tool. Set the options like this. Right-click to confirm. Then, it has been sent. Let's hide the other one. Next, select Azure Cutters. Similarly, send it to ZBrush. Next, send the stones and prongs to ZBrush. Now, we have sent all the objects to ZBrush. Enlarge the ZBrush window. First, locate the object for Azure Cutters. Then, close holes. Now, let's perform a Boolean operation. Next, adjust the position of the layer object. Now, you can follow the video to adjust the layer's position. Like this. Switch to Boolean difference here. After adjusting, we turn on Live Boolean. You can see it looks great after the Boolean operation. Doing mesh-related operations in ZBrush is very fast. The interaction between Designgold and ZBrush is very convenient. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you like our features, remember to subscribe us. We will update more powerful functions in the future.